welcome to Coast Creatives, a podcast for and about working professional artists within the entertainment industry. I'm your host, Joe Funk, and here we interview actors, directors, photographers, writers, and many, many more. Today, we're thrilled to have Brandon Deen join us, a passionate theater educator, Atlanta-based actor, and a true storyteller at heart. Brandon's journey into the arts started in high school when he chose the stage over the baseball field, and he's never looked back. From earning a theater arts degree at Piedmont University to performing professionally in Atlanta's vibrant theater scene, Brandon has experienced the magic of performance from many angles. Now, as a theater teacher at North Gwinnett High School, he's using his talents to inspire the next generation of performers, fostering a welcoming and creative environment for his students. We'll explore Brandon's unique path, his vision for arts education, and the lessons he's learned along the way. So, without further ado, let's welcome Brandon Deen to the podcast. How you doing today, Brandon?
I'm doing great. I'm feeling blessed and highly favored.
I love it. You are the first podcast of 2025 for me. We're ringing in the new year well. Thank you for stopping in. We could do this in person. We're doing it over Zoom. It is very, very cold here in Georgia right now. Not something we're incredibly used to.
No, it's in a particularly harsh winter. I don't know what that's about.
Tell me a little bit about growing up in St. Mary's and just your love of the arts growing up, your love of theater, your love of acting. Where did that originate?
Gosh, growing up in a small town in South Georgia is not exactly a hotbed of cultural awareness or artistic endeavors. You know, there are much worse places to be in that aspect. But I got pushed into sports a lot, and I did a lot of athletics growing up. A lot of the country boy stuff. I grew up fishing and farming and, some hunting, and, I was always fixing things in the garage. And then when I was in high school, I had kind of started playing guitar a lot more and experimenting with music, and I knew I always loved art, but I didn't know what specifically I liked. And I tried out for the baseball team. I made varsity as a freshman. They needed a catcher, and I said no, respectfully. I tried out for a musical at the same time, and I had a CD burnt for my audition, and the song was "Open the Eyes of My Heart, Lord," the Christian song.
Yeah.
And my burnt CD, failed me. So in front of like 80 people, I had to sing "Happy Birthday" a cappella. And it was mortifying. And that was the first time I'd ever sang in public or auditioned. And it was exhilarating, though. Something about it really captured me. I was like, wow, this is really something. And I got a supporting part in the musical. I guess my voice was decent. And then I just was like, well, I'll try this out for a little bit. I'll see what this is all about. And, I fell in love with it. I mean, storytelling has just such powerful implications. I think it's the escapism for me and the way that it touches my soul specifically that had a lot to do.
So what were your theater productions like in high school? Were they a good mix of musical and stage plays?
Yeah, I have to tip it off to my alma mater, Camden County High School. Go Wildcats. I have to tip it off for those that are unacquainted. We are the only high school in the entire county. So it covers about 5 or 6 towns, and there's about 32 to 3,500. It fluctuates for a high school.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It makes its own rules. My best friend's dad was my mentor growing up, and he was our fine arts administrator, and he also was one of my main drama teachers. We had 3, which is unheard of. And they were able to pull off like a 6-7 show season, which is crazy. So we would do usually 2 1-acts, a musical and a play, and we take them to different competitions. And then we do a big fall play. We do like a children's touring piece. We do a giant spring musical with everyone, which was crazy because they would cast anybody in the school that auditioned. Let me rephrase that. They would cast anyone in the school that would audition. There would be sometimes hundreds of people. I remember I did a musical one time with almost 300 people in that school. Um,
Wow.
and because they would bring little kids into it as
Yeah.
well from like elementary school, so it would be it's just like
Oh.
it was insanity, but it was also really fun. And then they would usually end it with like a spring play, and they did a Shakespeare every other year, so we do classical text usually. I did Moliere, I did like French,
Yeah.
classicism. I feel like for a community like that, I don't think it could have possibly been better. And it was like a 1,200 seat auditorium, so it was really big too. That's what gave me the bug. And I remember there was one musical in particular. We did Cats for my senior musical. We had such a great time. And I remember we sold out like a couple nights. Like there were like 2 nights when we sold out, and we had a pit band, and there were little kids that were little kittens in a couple scenes. And I'm out there and I'm singing. It's like a senior musical, and I'm looking out. And it's like 1,200 people, just like, some people are like standing room to see this show. And there's a live band with Andrew Lloyd Webber's score. And I was just like, man, I'm 16 years old, but I'm crushing it right now. Like I'm doing great. Like I'm on top of the world.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was a very exhilarating feeling for sure, and addictive. Yeah.
Yeah. When you're in high school, you got the bug for being on stage, but it sounds like you also got a bug for teaching. I want to go back to
Yeah.
this mentor figure you described, who I'm guessing is Dean Slusser.
Wow. You are
Dr.
all
Dean?
right. Yeah, man. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Dr.
Wow.
Dean Slusser and
Oh,
the lessons that you learned.
oh man. Yeah. Wow, you're doing your research. Yeah, he's a very important man in my life. I had not the easiest upbringing, I'll say. I had sort of a turbulent childhood at times, and for various reasons. And I think that having stability in my education and feeling safe to create and be myself and express myself when there were other moments outside of my school that I didn't feel that way was the most comforting thing that could have happened. And I have this personality trait that is, I won't say a character flaw, but just something that I sort of have had to learn to adapt to. I am excessively trying to make sure that other people feel taken care of.
Mhm.
Not necessarily I want people to like me, but I do want people to feel taken care of. So I've always wanted to give back, and I've always wanted to teach the arts, and I didn't know what that journey would look like or how. And I'm super glad and proud of myself for the journey that I took. Dean, Dr. Slusser, my second dad, if you will, was my best friend's dad growing up, and he's just a genius. Name a theater board in the country, and he's worked with it or on it. He's an advocate for arts education. He's fought legislation for decades on funding and understanding. He's dedicated and devoted his life not just to theater education, but to arts education. He's helped with departments of education across states with statistics, drawing math, and showing people the correlation between test scores and the arts. He
Wow.
treats arts like athletics, and he gets the funding like athletics get. His legacy recently, the past couple years, was they updated the already 1,200 seat auditorium. They turned it into a performing arts center. It has a black box, it has a little theater, it has multiple studio spaces, a giant choir room. There's an AV film room, a giant film room in this space. There's a 900 plus accommodation, 900 people plus band room just off of it. There's a huge multiple flex dance performing studio and a dance studio. I went there the first time, and I mean, I almost cried. Like it feels like a college campus. And I mean, like this small South Georgia town is where he decided to put his roots. And without someone like that, I don't know how many of us would have been able to experience what they experience. And yeah, he's just a legend. He's super smart, and he
Mm.
knows so much, and he knows how to communicate to people. And yeah, he's just a great guy. Love him
Yeah,
to death.
yeah, he sounds amazing, and
Yeah,
it's
he's
you are
awesome.
so incredibly fortunate to have a mentor like that. So many people's success stories in arts or outside of arts goes back to a mentor. It goes back to
Yeah.
somebody that they can be like, this person figured it out. This person has their priorities straight. And
Yeah.
that's and especially in the times that we live in when it comes to acting, I would imagine. We can get into this a little bit later, but let's first go to college. Let's go
Okay.
to Piedmont University, where you were a theater arts major. What
Yeah.
what were your takeaways from the college experience?
When I started there, I wanted sort of a bespoke classic liberal arts education. And that department is small and it has gotten smaller, but I will say for me at least, it was mighty. I think the first year of college, like many of us, I was attempting to find some things for about myself and try to figure out who this new young adult version of myself was and having all this freedom that I'd never ever experienced before from my controlling parents. So, when that happened, I sort of like unraveled. And then I went to a giant theater conference called Southeastern Theater Conference. I went as a freshman, which is a big deal in my little college because none of the freshmen ever got to go. And I was one of the only ones that got to go. And then I got a job. And that made people really hate me. And I'm not saying that lightly. Like that made people truly not like me. I got a job in a small summer stock theater in North Carolina called Highlands. Shout out to Highlands Playhouse. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. And that plus the first year of college, like really, just anchored me. And from that point on, I turned a corner and I really started to focus on how to make myself a better person, a better artist, and like invest in my education.
And when you went into college, did you have this idea that you wanted to go into education? Was that always the end goal,
Yeah.
or did you go in as I'm getting training as an actor and I want to be an actor?
No, I mean, that's a great question. I absolutely wanted to teach. And there's some logistics on how to jump those hoops, especially for arts education. It's particularly difficult and unnecessarily complicated. But I I had an amazing theater education professor. She's such a wise lady, and she's another mentor of mine, Kathy Blandon. I love her. Shout out to Dr. Blandon, shout out to Kathy. But yeah, I felt two reasons I shouldn't focus on education at the moment. I went to college when I was 17. I was very young when I started. I had a lot of growing up to do, and I had a lot of self reflection to figure out. And I also felt it was a disservice as a teacher to not be knowledgeable of the universe and the career path that I'm trying to train people to do. I
Yeah.
felt like it was completely wrong and a disservice for me to start teaching theater education and tell people how to be working actors and technicians and directors and storytellers without any professional experience. And I thought that was really foolish. I also happen to be talented enough and blessed enough to have gotten experiences and been cast in things. So I thought, well, I'll see how long I can ride this out and learn the experience and figure what a traditional sort of like theater major feels like and how that works. And then I can go get my certification when I'm ready to be an adult and, not live in La La Land anymore, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. So you get your education and you move to Atlanta and
Right.
you begin acting in the Atlanta theater scene. Talk a little bit about the Atlanta theater scene.
In terms of what Atlanta's doing, I think the commitment to new work is not to be understated. Yes, they're progressive. Yes, Kenny Leon's True Colors is here. Yes, we have, the Alliance, this gorgeous regional theater that's pumping out all these lovely new works that can get thrown up on Broadway. But the small, tiny little chasms of theater that I saw in a black box behind a bar at 10 p.m. at night, written by a couple of people that really care
Hmm.
about stories. That was some of the best work I saw
Yeah.
consistently. And it's not just those little bespoke things. The big theaters in town do the same things. They work with local artists. They give playwrights a chance. Almost every single theater I see has some sort of new work or playwright like convention or publishing, or Alliance has the Candida Festival, and like there's all these little like devotions and respect for young writers, and that's my jam. I mean, I love analysis. I really enjoy dramaturgy, and I love reading plays, but I love seeing the respect for the new work. And I think that's the thing that Atlanta has this special. I can't speak for every theater community in the country or in the world, but I will say that that is surprising for, a little southern town.
It is surprising. It's a beautiful theater scene, and it's also been wonderful to hear about so many. Starting with the SAG-AFTRA strikes last year, there's so many
Right,
actors that I know that are strictly film and TV, and when
right.
that all shut down for a while and is now slow to pick up, a lot of them are going back to their roots, and they're going back to theater,
Yep.
and quite a few of them are just saying, "I don't know if I want to go back to the world of film and TV after this. This is where my heart is. This is where my passion really
Yeah.
lies." Did you ever dabble in any of the screen acting, or is it mostly
Yeah.
stage for you?
No, I did a little. I did some workshops and stuff, and I did one Alliance for a little bit, and we did some stuff through Actors Express, some acting for the camera stuff. And then I got lucky. I was able to kind of shoo my way into People's Store, one of the agencies here.
Yeah.
I did some extra work in college too. The kids always freak out about this, but when I was in college, I got down for a 2 day period. I got off for 2 days, and I got to be an extra on Spider-Man Homecoming for like
Yeah.
2 days. I'm not, you can't see me in the final edit. I'm just a kid with a backpack in a hallway, but it was great. It was so much fun, and just some extra work and stuff. Nothing crazy,
Yeah.
and it's not for me. Like, that's not my vibe. It's not my jam. I had a really nice movie booked. I was going to be like a small part in a movie right before COVID. And, it took a lot away from all of us. So,
Yeah.
I think maybe there's part of me that's always like, oh man, maybe, I'll go back to that and try it again when I'm older and I can play the
Yeah.
dad parts or whatever. But as a young actor, I didn't. I liked treading the boards and having an audience. It was much more for me. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, you gotta know what craft speaks to you, and
yeah,
kudos to you for recognizing that quickly instead of going down that rabbit hole for a decade or
yeah,
longer, and until you figured that out. And Atlanta has this interesting balance where it's rich in film and TV and it's rich in theater. I can't think of another city that's quite as balanced. It's really nice that actors here do have a chance to dabble and try out
absolutely,
what they like. And I always stress, especially when you're young, when you're in your late teens, when you're in your 20s, try it all out and see
absolutely,
what you like, because you can listen to
absolutely,
our opinions on this, but this is just one, we're two people that are driven toward in one direction, but somebody else might
absolutely,
fall in love with screen acting, and that might
absolutely,
be their jam.
absolutely, 100%. Yeah, everybody's journey looks different. Everybody's vibe looks different,
Hmm.
and it's all nuanced. Yeah,
I
it
already I
absolutely
already
is.
want to just give you a lot of credit for gravitating towards your passions at such a young age. I briefly want to go back to, you mentioned a little bit about how the process of becoming a theater arts educator can be a little
Yeah,
convoluted, and a
yeah,
little tricky. Can you explain
yeah.
that? Because I actually don't have any knowledge about that.
Yeah, to be an educator in any state, you have to go through the licensing process, just like nursing or law school or anything like that. So there are lots of programs and ways to do it. To get your certification, you have to do X amount of classes. You have to do your student teaching, just like your residency, if you will, through different grade bands is what they call them, depending on what your certification level is. So if I was early childhood, I would just do kindergarten through fifth grade, and I'd observe teachers in different grade levels, right?
Yeah.
When you're an arts educator, you know, I'm trying to be nice and diplomatic, but I'm just going to be frank about it. You're treated like this thorn, this sort of wart on someone's nose. It's nobody knows what to do with you, and you're put into this dusty corner, and Nobody's catering anything. They're preaching inclusivity and diversity and understanding and differentiation and all these tactics that are all about learning needs and critical thinking. But when it comes to the actual students they're teaching in these college classes about these things, when you say, oh, I teach theater education, or I teach music education, or I teach art education, or God forbid someone say dance education, they're the most underrepresented. They treat you like, oh, I see. We can just figure out what we're going to do with your curriculum then. We'll just come up with something different for you. So that's strange. And then most of us are pre-K through 12 for our certifications. So I have to do work from the little itty bitties to high school. And then it's like, uh, how many elementary school theater programs are there? Have you ever heard of any? No,
No.
there's not many. You know
Yeah.
why? Because we're the first to go.
Yeah.
Dance and theater. We're always the first to be cut consistently, even though I could sit here and have a sermon about why that's wrong. But anywho, so I did a lot of music classes with elementary school to begin with, and I went to a music elementary class.
Yeah.
The teacher was awesome. He was great. I'm going to give him credit, but Mr. Lenz at Buford Academy. But yeah, it was rough. And then you have to go to middle school, and then you have to experience middle school again and confront that. And then once you're done with that, you have to go to high school. And then once you're through your high school certification, you have to go through the rest of it, which is taking two tests that are very expensive, the GACE and the Praxis. The GACE is normally the only thing people have to test, but because you're an arts educator, you have to take two tests. And they both, I mean, that cost me, I think, like probably $1,000 just worth of testing materials, right? And then once you've done that, and hopefully you've passed them, then you have to go through the certification process. And then finally, after that, you might get what you need to do. And then on top of that, you're supposed to do 40 hours of student teaching, unpaid, observing after you've done your grade bands. So you do your grade bands, you do the test, you pay for all that, you go through a certification process, you get a provisional certificate, and then you go through your student teaching process after that of doing your 40 plus hours. It takes basically a whole semester between classes and everything for a lot of people. I'm very blessed and I'm a unicorn. I got to do the last part of my student teaching working on the job, which is super unheard of. So I will not complain too much. It is difficult. It is difficult, and it should not be this difficult. I mean, I get why it is
Yes.
because we need good teachers and we need good educators. But yes, it
Yes.
is
I think
understandably difficult. Yeah.
it's much more difficult than I could have possibly imagined the process to be, but I also imagine that one of the silver linings is that weeds out a lot of people not truly interested in this. If you go
Yeah.
through that process, you have to love the idea of being an educator and love the idea of being a theater educator for these
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. I saw this. There's all these quotes on it, but I saw a little quick red carpet clip of Matt Damon, and he's like, why else would you put yourself in that much work, that much stress, take that low of pay if you don't have something to teach? Teachers want to teach and they deserve respect. I'm misquoting him, but it was something along
Yeah.
those lines. And that always resonated with me.
Now you're teaching at North Gwinnett High School. What excites you the most about working with high school students?
They are surprisingly committed to the work. That is without a doubt the greatest gift and the greatest joy I have. Even the trickiest, most complex students with the most difficult home lives and backgrounds, they're all committed to the work at some point or another. And there's always a little bit of a breakthrough at one point. And watching children discover their own growth, watching children discover camaraderie and just committing to that work is just so, it feeds my soul, man. It really does. It's cheesy, but there's hope. There's hope. There's a lot to be grateful for. I think this generation of kids, the alphas, the betas, all that, the Z's, they all get this weird level of like, they're hopeless. And we tell them that. And I think that's so wrong. Sure, people make mistakes. Kids make mistakes. There are things that go on, but just seeing them commit to the work and watching that spark is just like, it's great, man. It's great.
Yeah.
Especially when you have a breakthrough with a difficult kid. Oh, yummy. It's so good. It's like, yes. Oh, thank God. Finally.
You crack the shell. What makes a student difficult?
I think for me, I'm super transparent. I say the same things every year. And without fail, it's what's going to happen. I mean, I teach high school theater, right? I don't make it rigorous by assignments, right? I'm not a physics teacher. I'm not creating this curriculum of rigor by forcing people to do these really intense things they don't want to do or creating these massive assignments. What I'm creating rigor by doing is challenging them creatively, right? How far can you go with your designs? How far can you go with the practice of production and performance, right? What can we do as a skill set, as an actor in a musical, as an actor in a play, as a director of a piece? Like, how far can I push you to see your own growth, right? What makes students difficult is when they are, A, when they don't show up, right? And B, when they stop investing in that. When they stop investing in the process, when they stop caring, I say the same things. I'm like, as long as you're participating and you're trying and you're here, you're going to be fine. As long as you show up and you're participating in the work, you're going to do fine. You're going to do absolutely fine, right? But if you're not here and you're not participating, I'm going to leave you in the dust because we got a lot of work to do. And I think that no matter what opportunity people get, whether I give them props assistant number 2 or the lead in something or a director, right? Sometimes they don't realize that is an opportunity. It is always an opportunity. We saw Ben Vereen one time at Southeastern Theater Conference I did when I was in college with Kathy, and he talked about this slave ship that had Frederick Douglass on it. And they were out of water. The people, these slave merchants, these were screaming to the people on the land, like, hey, we're out of water. We need water. And the people on the island screamed back, drop your buckets. And that saved everybody on the ship, including Frederick Douglass, because the water was fresh and they thought it was salt water. And so Ben Vereen's message to all of us was drop your buckets where you are, no matter where you're at in life, no matter what you're doing. If you're in something, if you're doing something and your name's attached to it, commit to it to the fullest of your abilities because it leads to bigger, better, cooler, more exciting things. And I think that applies to education too. I don't see why that could be any different than being a student, you know? So as much as they invest in their education is as much as I can give them. That's my model.
And seeing that commitment in your students, it sounds really beautiful. And for a lot of them, it is one of the first times that they're seeing the beauty in teamwork and collaboration on this level. Because like you were saying, it's like some people, maybe you're going to be a lead here, or maybe you're going to be a light tech, maybe you're going to be doing props, but the production falls apart with one of those people missing. Yep. Everybody is so incredibly important, and that's such a big lesson that you have to pass along. How do you navigate the emotions of high school kids when they're like, I don't really want to do that. I'm meant to do this. And they can't really see the bigger picture right away. How do you navigate those waters?
Yeah. I like to say I have lots of little catchphrases, and some of them stick more than others, and each one resonates differently with the kids. Some of them make fun of me for them. If you're a student, yes, we can. That's my main one. But I like to say life skills through stage skills a lot, right? And I try to tell them that at some point in your life, something is going to interact with you, and you're going to say, I remember when I was doing this thing in high school theater, and I remember doing this, and now I can do this, right? And they may not ever happen, right? But the idea, the concept of putting your head down, doing something maybe you don't fully want to do to begin with, and then discovering, oh, wow, I like this, or I'm good at this, or this is interesting, or I'm important, right? A spotlight operator doesn't feel important until the show happens, until rehearsals happen. And then they see, oh my gosh, I have so much power. I have so much power within what I'm doing here, right? When I get pushback, or when I have people having kids, parents, etc., telling me, hey, I didn't get this thing that I wanted. I have to explain to them, that I'm not here to cater to an individual, right? As much as I want to. I'm here to make sure that you're put in the best place for you at this moment in time. And then I say to them, these are the reasons we're here. And then I try to be really thorough with them. I take way too much time giving them feedback, but I do. I sit down and I'm like, here's where you're at. I don't operate in a good, bad space because that's not helpful. But I say, hey, this is where you're at. And this is where we can grow you to over time. And these are the things that you can do to get to where I know you can be and where you would be surprised you can be. Right. And they don't always agree with that and they don't always see that. And I don't expect them to. And that's fine. But most of the time, when I have those conversations and the kids trust me and they just give into the process, then they realize, oh my God, this is great. Like, I'm so glad that I ran projections for this musical. They're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, this is so cool doing like video projections. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but nobody does. And teachers make
No.
mistakes all the time. I screw up all the time. But yeah, I mean, that's what's led me so far in this journey.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about how when you said when you were in high school and you moved on from baseball to doing theater, it was a place that you felt safe. Like you felt accepted, you felt like you were at home. I want to know, how do you create this culture where your students can feel safe and accepted and can thrive and exceed expectations? How do you foster that energy within both the classrooms and the productions?
This is one of the most imperative things for me. The first thing I try to do is I accept everybody into one of my classes in some shape or form. Anybody who walks to the door, I'm going to find a place for you. Imagine being a student in a high school and you have been told no by multiple areas, multiple disciplines, and you go to the theater department and the theater teacher looks at you and says, no,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have a place for you. I can't find somewhere for you to go.
Yeah.
That is unacceptable to me. I think every arts educator is doing a disservice, and I will platform for this. And there are arts educators who would completely disagree with me, right? You can't take every kid. Why not? Why not? Who cares? Who cares what their learning needs are? Who cares what level of skill they have, right? You can find, if the philosophy is teaching, is catering to each and every single student's learning needs, right? That may mean more work on your part. That may be more challenging, right? I've had kids of every discipline, all kinds of neurodivergence, like you name it. Like I have found connections and ways to work with them. I really try to first and foremost accept people into my space. That's the first thing we do. The second thing I like to do is I have a student body of officers with our Honor Thespian Society, International Thespian Society. So I have usually 8 to 10 student leaders with that. And then we have an improv troupe with 2 student leaders running that. So I have usually 8 to 10 student leaders in the program. They create a big and little program with the freshman people or the new faces to the program. So they have someone that's been in our program attached to them throughout the year to bring them in and be their sort of accountability buddy, if you will.
Oh, beautiful.
And that's always super successful in my opinion. And then I always have an open door policy. As long as it's not super disruptive to what I'm doing in the moment, I do allow students to come into my door in my office and open the door and talk to me and tell me things that make them feel unsafe or things that are unwell. And I know that a lot of teachers don't do that. And I probably should have a better system for that, maybe a form or an email, because it can get a little laborious. But because of that, I'm trying not to get too emotional. I've had kids tell me about really dark things that are going on in their personal life, like horrible things that I was able to contact our resource officer and our counselors to intervene and get them the help they deserve. Because people see high schoolers and teenagers and oh, they're young adults, but they're also still forming. And you're only a victim to what you're taught at that point in life. It's not until you cross the threshold of adulthood, from my opinion, that you can really start to fully think and make decisions for yourself. If your experience is one way, you're informed by that experience, right? And that's how my life was. I was informed by this one experience, and then I went into adulthood and I started to think and feel for myself. And yeah, I'm not anyone's dad. I'm not anyone's parent except for my son.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be a father figure to these kids. That's not what I'm doing. I don't want them to think of me as that. I am a drama teacher first and foremost and a film teacher, but I do want them to know that I am a safe space and that if I can help them in some way, I'm here for that. And
You want to make sure that people feel like they're being taken care of, like you said.
100%.
You're absolutely providing that safe space for all of these kids, but it does have to be a fine line of, I'm a safe space, I'm a safe person to talk to, but I don't want to necessarily be that father figure. I don't want to cross any lines with that.
No.
So,
No, and I navigate that by like including my coworkers, my bosses, the
yeah.
parents know when that kind of stuff happens. Like always an open door. Like I have my own set of rules and boundaries with those kinds of things. But yeah, I mean it is interesting, man. Teenagers are wild and they say crazy things and they do crazy things.
And it's very important that a lot of these kids have someone like you in their life. So
Thanks, man.
I commend you for all of the work that you're doing. You're an angel, man. What's one piece of advice that you wish you would have received as in high school when you were a young actor and a high school child? What's one piece of advice you really wish you would have heard?
There's lots, but if it's specific to my experience when I was a kid, I would say that like if I was talking, if we're doing the exercise of like inner child work and younger me, I would say I wish that anyone would have told me that my dreams don't have to be other people's dreams, right? Like what I want to do with my own life, even as a child, even as a young adult, does not have to line up or be the same experience for what other people have put upon me. I'm very happy. I'm very happy with my life. And the way I see it, I've just started my career. And I know that young me would have been very proud of me. And I think that's a really deep feeling for me. Yeah. I mean, and also like, it's okay to screw up. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes, man. It's okay. Like, don't be hard on yourself. You're gonna screw up. It's all right. Like, chill out. Young men, I mean, and women, they're always like so hard on themselves when they screw up. God, I just see it all the time. They like
Yeah.
torture themselves over like one mistake. And I'm like, chill out. It's okay. Take a
Yeah.
breath. It's cool.
I remember thinking that way when I was young, where I would
Yeah.
never want to screw up. I would want to be perfect at everything. And
Yeah.
I also grew up in a time before Instagram and
Yeah.
before
Yeah. Me
face.
too.
I work with a lot of young actors as well. I work with high school, even younger than high school. I
Right.
do
Yeah.
headshots, and
Sure.
sometimes my headshot sessions can be a little bit what you're describing with your students, where it's like it's very conversational, and the relationship that I have with them can sometimes turn into like a little bit of a therapy session. And a lot of them have this like comparison issues.
Mm.
And I tell them, don't ever compare yourself to somebody else's highlight reel because the
Oh, yeah.
others,
Especially young actors. My gosh.
yeah, you understand that when somebody's posting on Instagram, we're not typically posting our failures.
That's not real life,
No,
right? It's
no.
like the bespoke version of what they want you to think their life actually
Yes,
is most
yes.
of the time.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
when it clicked for me was when I used my business account for my Instagram. I don't have a personal one, but there would be people that come up to me and they're like, "Man, you are crushing it. You are doing so great. You're on top of the world. Like this
I
stuff's
know.
amazing." And I'm like, "Oh no. If you're not
I
inside my
know.
head, you would know like not at all."
I
I'm
know,
like
man.
I'm having
Oh
like all of these
gosh.
imposter syndrome issues. I'm
I
I'm
know.
like, "Oh man, I you're always looking at whoever's ahead of you." And it's like, not at their level. I'm not at their level. And then you realize, like, you can't go your whole life like that. You can't go your
Yeah.
whole life just looking at other artists and other creatives and saying, like, why aren't I that? It's like the struggle should just be with yourself. It should be with yourself, your craft. How can you improve a little bit every day and shut out
Yeah.
all of the noise, all of the blur that we get from TikTok and Instagram
Yeah.
and all the social medias. I'm very glad I didn't grow up with any of those social media
Facebook
platforms.
popped up when I was like in middle school time frame, and then Instagram was like sort of like late high school for me.
Hmm.
That definitely it affects kids in a deep way. And to quote my dear friend and my graduate roommate Zachary Prees, he says, "Comparison is the thief of joy." I sort of live by that. I try to foster and encourage them to just like be unique, make your own choices, think about what you can do, and it helps. I know that it helps because I can go, well, this is what happened to me, or
Yeah.
this is what I went through, or this is how I felt in these moments, right? And they come to me and they ask me, like, do you think I could be an actor? Do you think I could be a director? Do you think I could be a teacher? Do you think I could make it in the film industry? Do you think I could be a screenwriter? And I can share those things with them and be like, yeah, this is what happened to me, or these are my friends' experiences, or let me get you in touch with this person that can like work you up and make you feel better and sort of encourage you in this moment. And that helps too.
Oh, this is a beautiful conversation. I'm so glad we're
Thanks,
doing this.
man. Yeah, I feel the same way. You're a beautiful man. Thank you,
Oh,
Joe.
you too, buddy. I'm going to end with something because when we were texting, so I'm going into your school on Friday and chat, and you were describing it as James Lipton inside the actor's studio. I don't know how exact you were going to get with this, but I'm going to throw these questions at you
Oh, great. Are we doing like a
because,
lightning round kind of thing?
yeah,
All right.
James Lipton would famously have 10 questions that he would end every interview with. I'm gonna
Yeah.
toss them to you. I'm not gonna do all of them,
Okay.
but
Let's do it.
I'm gonna pick some of my favorite here.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Mr. Brandon Dean. What is your favorite word?
Ooh, credenza.
What is your least favorite word?
Soggy.
What sound or noise do you love?
My wife's laugh and my baby's laugh. They're tied.
What sound or noise do you hate?
That's tough. There's a lot. When someone takes a fork and they put it in their mouth and they bite down with their teeth and they pull the fork against their teeth, like that is like I think those people belong in like caves. Like they should just not like civilized society. Like I don't understand the logic with that. Like
No.
A, it can't be comfortable. B, you're getting all kinds of micro aluminum and silver in your mouth. And C, what's wrong with you? Like how do you just not know that that's what you're doing to your body? I don't know. That's a silly thing, but yes, it does. That's one of the, small
Oh,
like
no. Yeah, yeah,
no.
yeah. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Ooh, I'd love to be a restaurant owner. I love food. I'm a huge, huge fan. I cook every day. I read tons of cookbooks. I just consume all the food media. It relaxes me. All my matriarchs in my family were bakers and chefs and cooks, and I have some restaurant experience. And I think my retirement plan is to own a small little like cafe or brunch hangout spot with
Mm.
my wife. I don't want to do anything other than own the place. I just want to go in, collect the paycheck, pick up inventory. Like I don't want to do like the real work.
Let's
Like
combine them. Let's go dinner
yeah,
theater.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Do a dinner. Yeah.
This isn't a James Lipton, but just a follow up. If you had to really make a good impression, what's your go-to dish you're serving?
Oh gosh, there's lots. The first thing I made my wife was I made a chicken piccata with
Mm.
like a risotto and a nice salad, and then I baked like some really nice. What was the dessert? I think it was like a chocolate mousse kind of vibe,
Wow.
and it worked. We're
I
married.
know. I
We
was
have a
gonna say you
baby.
have a child now, so you did something
It
right
worked.
there. That made a good
It
impression. I
worked
would say
out.
you
It
made
worked
a good
out.
impression. Uh, Final question for you:
Sure.
if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Come on in, man. The Waffle House is open. All your friends and family are here. We're gonna have a good time.
The
Do you
Waffle
remember we
House.
went? Do you remember we went to? I don't know if you were part of. I know that you know this, but Natalie and I went to Waffle House on our wedding night. Waffle
I
House
was
means.
there. I was there.
I thought you were there. I
Yes,
was almost
sir.
certain you and Emmy were there. I thought so.
Waffle House is a wonderful people watching experience.
It's a waffle home.
If you need character inspiration for writing,
Oh,
go to a
great
Waffle
place to
House.
go. Oh my gosh, no, it's so funny you say that. I got stuck. I mean, I feel like I'm cheating on my, partner, but like I went to a huddle house one time because I got stuck on the side of a road and there was nothing off that exit. Like my car that at the time broke down and I sat there for about 5 hours and I had a laptop and I had a couple cups of coffee and I just wrote a short play in the huddle house about like the people around me and I just made it a nondescript diner and it was really funny. Like I never did anything with it, but yeah, I that was a fun exercise because I was losing
Yeah,
my mind, waiting on this tow truck.
it's amazing the people you see in that. It's also amazing the love that you Southerners have for Waffle House.
It's
I'm not gonna
incredible.
step on it. It's like church for some of y'all.
I just have a lot of positive memories there, I just really do. We had this incredible Waffle House right by college, and there was this awesome lady who would just, it's just like family, you know what I mean? Like there's something about like these like crusty diners that you go into and the servers and the cooks, you form a relationship with them and they know your order and
Mhm.
uh, it's the whole experience. Take me in your warm arms. 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 Take me in your warm ar Vicky.
Yeah.
Feed me a waffle and tell me your life story. It's
Yeah.
great. It's
Yeah,
just like,
yeah.
oh,
When visitors come into town, you're not taking them to the botanical garden. You're just like, no, no, no. We're starting at the Waffle House. Yeah.
absolutely.
And was the exodus we made to the Waffle House in your wedding night, was that planned beforehand, or was that really just like
No, completely spontaneous. Natalie's friend Amy looked at Natalie and said, "Hey, I found a Waffle House. Do you guys want to go?" And Natalie was like, "Show me the car. Like, we're going." Like, yes, 100%.
and that's going to be such a core memory, not just
Yeah,
for you,
man.
but all of us that were lucky enough to celebrate with you there that day. Oh, Brandon, this is wonderful. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
man.
for sitting down and chatting with me. I'm very excited for Friday when we can flip the script a little bit.
Thank you, brother.
I
Thanks for
miss you.
having
We
me.
gotta hang out. We gotta hang
I
out
agree.
again soon. You gotta cook me something
Oh
because
yeah,
it made
man.
me
I'd
hungry
love
just
to.
listening to all that food. It's like I could learn
Anytime.
something
Yeah,
from
we'll
you.
set it up. We'll have you guys over and we'll cook something, or we'll make something for you. And then Friday we'll have a good time. I'll try and be
I can't wait.
investigative. I'm not gonna be as investigative as you are, man. You got
I
some
didn't
deep
do that
cuts.
much.
You had some deep cuts.
A couple. Well, thank you, buddy. I'm looking forward to Friday. Looking forward
Yeah,
to
man.
meeting some of your students, and we're gonna have a good
Yeah,
time.
man. All right, brother. I'll see you soon.
See you later.
Take care.